Today, we're embarking on a journey to a land of almost mythical beauty, a place that has captivated emperors, poets, and travelers for centuries. Kashmir.
It really has that allure, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Our mission today is to unpack a truly fascinating period, the Mughal rule in Kashmir, a vibrant era spanning from 1586 right through to 1751 CE.
A significant stretch of time.
Indeed. And for this deep dive, you've provided us with a really rich compilation of articles and historical accounts. We're primarily focusing on the incredibly detailed text, Mughal Rule in Kashmir, which is kind of our main guide here.
It's a great source, very comprehensive.
Our goal is to uncover how this stunning valley, with its just unparalleled natural splendor, didn't just become another conquered territory, but actually a crucial, captivating jewel in the Mughal Empire's crown.
A jewel, that's a perfect description.
We'll be exploring its profound strategic importance, its dramatic cultural and artistic transformation, and ultimately understanding the lasting legacy of a dynasty that, well, quite literally, shaped a vision of paradise on Earth. Okay, let's unpack this pivotal period where imperial ambition met unparalleled natural beauty.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how this particular region became such a microcosm, you know? A perfect miniature representation of the entire Mughal project.
A microcosm, I like that.
It was this complex blend of, well, raw power and strategic ambition, definitely, but also this intense focus on aesthetics, beauty, art, deeply intertwined with a complex process of cultural synthesis. The material you've shared offers such a panoramic view, it lets us see beyond just the political move.
Right, beyond the battles and treaties.
Exactly. We can really grasp the profound cultural and economic shifts that define this era for Kashmir. It's a compelling subject precisely because it illustrates how imperial expansion wasn't just about grabbing land, it was also about shaping identity, cultivating a whole new aesthetic, and in Kashmir's case, transforming this natural wonderland into an imperial ideal of paradise.
I find that concept of a microcosm particularly intriguing. It suggests Kashmir wasn't just, passively receiving Mughal influence, but maybe an active participant, or at least a really unique canvas for them.
That's a great way to put it, a unique canvas.
And to truly understand that transformation, we need to set the scene, right? We need to look at Kashmir just before the Mughals arrive. So picture this. A kingdom internally fractured, almost ripe for external influence. That's precisely the volatile scene Emperor Akbar encountered.
Volatile is the right word.
The last independent ruler was Shah Jahan, who came to the throne in 1579 CE. But his reign, well, unfortunately for him, it was really steeped in significant political instability.
Deep instability, yeah.
We're talking about a landscape riddled with rival nobles, powerful tribal leaders, all constantly vying for power. This wasn't just minor squabbling. It was this deep-seated disunity that created an almost, chaotic internal environment. So, despite Kashmir's formidable natural defenses, the towering mountains, the tricky passes, it was actually incredibly vulnerable from within.
Yeah.
And that weakness was something the powerful Mughal Empire was perfectly poised to exploit.
You've hit on such a crucial point there, that internal instability, it basically acted like a beacon, didn't it? It amplified Kashmir's inherent strategic and cultural significance, which is precisely what made it so incredibly attractive to the Mughals in the first place.
So the weakness drew them in as much as the strengths.
In a way, yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Kashmir wasn't just another conquest for Akbar, it was seen as this profound canvas for the Mughal ideal, this deliberate fusion of Persianate culture, which they brought, and the existing Indian traditions. Its geographical position, for instance, was strategically invaluable. I mean, it sat right along these vital trade routes, acting as a crucial link connecting India directly to the bustling markets and cultural centers of Central Asia and Persia.
Huge economic implications.
Absolutely huge. This wasn't just about moving goods like silk, spices, precious metals, although that was important. It was about connecting these vast economic and cultural networks that spanned a significant chunk of the continent.
Right.
And economically, the valley was already renowned for its immense riches even before the Mughals. Take saffron, for example, often called red gold. It was a highly prized commodity across Asia.
Still is, really.
Still is, exactly. But it wasn't just saffron. Kashmir was famous for its exquisite textiles, particularly woolens, early forms of the shawls we know today, and just unparalleled craftsmanship in things like woodwork and papier-mâché. This stuff drew merchants and artisans from all over Asia, making Kashmir a vibrant economic hub even before the Mughals showed up.
So it was already a prize economically.
Definitely. And culturally, it was already this profound melting pot. You had this rich tapestry of Hindu, Buddhist, and burgeoning Islamic traditions. And Sufism, the mystical side of Islam, played a particularly central and incredibly shaping role in its spiritual identity.
Sufism was already strong there.
Very strong. And we know about its deep intellectual heritage partly thanks to the 12th century chronicle, the Rajatarangini, written by Kalhana. It's fascinating because, unlike many ancient texts, it really tries to be a historical account, tracing Kashmir's lineage of kings, detailing political intrigues, social structures, cultural life, long before Islamic rule fully took hold.
So a sense of history was already present.
A very strong sense. It's an invaluable window into this sophisticated pre-Mughal civilization, highlighting Kashmir's long-standing intellectual prowess. It wasn't a blank slate.
Not at all.
So, for Akbar, the Mughal interest wasn't just about territory or money, though those mattered. It was profoundly cultural and ideological. He envisioned this truly unified empire, his grand project known as Sulikul, or Universal Peace, where diverse regions and peoples could kind of coalesce under Mughal leadership.
A unifying vision.
Exactly. And Kashmir, with its unique blend of existing traditions, its spiritual depth, its sheer beauty, and its potential for artistic flourishing, was seen as the perfect region to exemplify that Mughal ideal of blending Persianate culture with Indian traditions. It was about creating a new kind of imperial aesthetic and identity, where the beauty of the land could be matched by the grandeur of the empire's vision.
It's clear that Kashmir was a prize then, both for its resources and its massive symbolic value. And that vision for a unified empire, as you said, meant, well, no room for independent rulers on the borders.
Absolutely not.
Yusuf Shah Jahan, the last independent king, he must have been acutely aware of the formidable power of the Mughals next door.
Oh, undoubtedly.
He initially tried diplomacy, didn't he? Essentially walking right into the lion's den. In 1581 CE, he actually visited Akbar's court in Agra.
He did.
Hoping, presumably, to get Mughal support against those internal rivals we talked about. Maybe keep some autonomy by playing the Mughal card to shore up his own shaky power.
A classic, if risky, move.
But Akbar, with his just unwavering ambition for consolidation and this grand vision for the empire, simply didn't leave room for independent rulers on his borders, especially not in a place as strategically vital and culturally rich as Kashmir.
No, his goal was complete integration. And this is, well, it's a classic example of how internal dissent within a region can directly weaken its position and, kind of ironically, invite external domination.
Right.
Yusuf Shah's attempts at diplomacy were essentially doomed from the start because he couldn't unify his own power base back home. These rival nobles, powerful figures like Ali Khan and Hussein Khan, they were actively challenging his authority, creating precisely the kind of power vacuum that a shrewd and ambitious empire like the Mughals would exploit.
They saw the opening.
They absolutely saw the opening. Akbar's strategy was carefully calculated. He dispatched envoys, but not really to negotiate as equals. It was more to offer protection in exchange for submission.
An offer you can't refuse, basically.
Pretty much. It came with an implicit, unmistakable threat. Yusuf Shah's understandable reluctance to fully capitulate, to truly hand over his sovereignty, that was the trigger for direct military action.
So diplomacy failed and the invasion began.
Which led directly to the decisive campaign of 1586. Akbar appointed his trusted general, Qasim Khan, a seasoned military commander, to lead the campaign to annex Kashmir.
And the Mughal forces were just stronger.
Frankly, overwhelming. They were equipped with superior resources, not just more men, but also more advanced military tactics for the time. They had better logistics, better command structure. Now, they did face pockets of spirited resistance from elements of the Chak dynasty and their local allies. And the rugged Himalayan terrain certainly posed its own unique logistical challenges. It wasn't easy terrain.
I can imagine.
But those existing internal divisions among the Kashmiris ultimately tilted the balance decisively in favor of the Mughals. The campaign wasn't really one single massive battle, but more a series of skirmishes and strategic maneuvers. And the Mughals expertly leveraged alliances with those very disaffected Kashmiri nobles who saw an opportunity for themselves in the changing tides.
Playing the internal politics.
Masterfully. Yusuf Shah Jahan, his power fragmented, ultimately unable to unify his forces against such a well-organized external threat, was eventually deposed.
And what happened to him?
His fate was a pretty stark reminder of imperial might. He was exiled far away to Bihar, thousands of miles away, where he lived out his final years under strict Mughal surveillance. a deposed ruler watching his kingdom transformed from afar. By October 1586, Kashmir was formally annexed as a suba, which is basically a province, of the Mughal Empire. And to solidify this control, Mirza Yusuf Khan was appointed as its very first Mughal governor, tasked with integrating this new, incredibly valuable territory.
So, annexation complete, what next? How did they integrate it?
Well, this annexation was a truly significant milestone in Akbar's grand imperial project. Kashmir was rapidly and pretty thoroughly incorporated into the intricate Mughal administrative framework. Srinagar, already a significant urban center, was formalized as the provincial capital.
Right.
And to ensure not just control but efficiency and loyalty, two key administrative systems were introduced and adapted specifically for Kashmir. First, the Mansabdari system.
Ah, yes, the ranking system.
Exactly. Think of it as this comprehensive civil and military ranking system, a meticulously structured hierarchy where every high-ranking official, from a general to a provincial governor, held a mensab. This rank defined their status, their salary, and crucially, the number of troops they were expected to maintain and provide to the emperor.
So it tied them directly to the emperor's military strength.
Directly. It ensured loyalty through dependence. And connected to this was the Jagirdari system. Instead of always getting a fixed salary, many Mansabdars were assigned a Jagir-specific land areas from which they could collect revenue directly.
Ah, so their income depended on managing the land well.
Precisely. It incentivized efficient administration because their own income depended on the prosperity and productivity of their assigned Jagir. It gave them skin in the game, so to speak. And to make sure the empire maximized its take from Kashmir's rich lands, they also implemented the Zapit system. This was a really meticulous, quite advanced method of land measurement and standardized revenue assessment and collection.
Standardized it.
Yeah, it was revolutionary for its time. It moved away from rough estimates to detailed mapping of productive land, ensuring fair but optimized taxation for the imperial coffers. It significantly stabilized the regional economy, making revenue predictable.
Sounds very organized.
It was. But what's equally important, and sometimes overlooked, is that Kashmir's integration wasn't just political and economic. It profoundly facilitated cultural exchange.
How so?
Well, Mughal officials started moving in administrators, yes, but also highly skilled artisans, learned scholars. They began to settle in the valley, bringing with them this rich tapestry of Persianate traditions. Not just the Persian language, but sophisticated poetry, intricate minaret paintings, elegant calligraphy, architectural styles like the Sharbagh Garden.
All the hallmarks of the Mughal court.
Exactly. And these profoundly shaped Kashmiri culture for centuries to come, blending, often quite seamlessly, with the local Indian artistic and intellectual currents that were already there. This annexation really marks the beginning of a truly transformative period as Kashmir transitioned from this semi-independent kingdom to a vibrant, integral province of one of the world's most powerful and culturally influential empires.
Which brings up that question you posed earlier.
Right. It raises that important question. How much did the internal politics and the existing vulnerabilities of Kashmir truly enable its external absorption into such a powerful and, frankly, ideologically driven empire? Was it just overwhelming Mughal might, or were the seeds of annexation already present within Kashmir's own divisions?
It's such a crucial, nuanced point, isn't it? It wasn't just brute force, but exploiting existing weaknesses.
Precisely.
And once absorbed, the Mughal period in Kashmir truly began to take on this distinct character, shaped, as you said, by the personal visions and governing styles of four key emperors: Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan, and Aurangzeb.
The Great Mughals, essentially.
Exactly. Each of these rulers left a distinct, almost indelible mark, like a different brushstroke on the valley's canvas, contributing uniquely to its development, its administration, its culture, its architecture. It's fascinating to see how the valley was transformed through each of their individual priorities and, well, their passions.
It really personalizes the imperial project in a way.
Let's start with Akbar then. Often regarded as the greatest Mughal emperor, he was, without a doubt, the true architect of Mughal Kashmir, laying those crucial administrative and cultural foundations for its enduring integration into the empire.
Absolutely the architect.
A pivotal moment, beyond the initial conquest, was his personal visit to the valley in 1589 CE. This wasn't just some formal tour of a newly acquired territory, right?
No, not at all. It was a deeply personal first-hand experience for him to truly see, feel, and appreciate Kashmir's unparalleled natural beauty and its rich cultural vibrancy. And by all accounts, he was utterly captivated by it.
He fell in love with it, basically.
You could say that. His vision for Kashmir was ambitious and far-reaching. He saw it not just as another province to control, but as a showcase of Mughal grandeur and a vibrant center for the kind of cultural synthesis he was championing across his vast domain.
And he acted on that vision quickly.
Immediately. He put that vision into action with a series of comprehensive and pretty thoughtful administrative reforms designed to stabilize and integrate the region. He appointed highly capable governors, figures like Mirza Yusuf Khan, the first one, and later Muhammad Qali Khan. Their primary task was ensuring law and order, maintaining stability in this newly acquired territory.
Getting things under control.
Exactly. He also meticulously tailored the existing Mughal revenue system to Kashmir's specific agrarian economy. This meant levying taxes not just generally, but specifically on the local specialties rice, the highly prized saffron, various fruits, the core of Kashmir's agricultural output.
Making the system fit the place.
Precisely. And furthermore, he solidified the Jagirdari system there, assigning those land grants to Mughal officials as a clever way to ensure loyalty and incentivize efficient governance, tying the prosperity of the officials directly to the productivity of the land they manage.
Right, the skin in the game idea?
And beyond administration, Akbar invested significantly in critical infrastructure. He ordered the construction and improvement of vital roads connecting Kashmir directly with the Mughal heartland in Delhi and Lahore. These roads weren't just for moving troops. They profoundly facilitated trade, pilgrimage, cultural exchange, strengthening Kashmir's integration into the empire on multiple levels.
You're connecting it physically and culturally.
Absolutely. And crucially, Akbar was also a fervent champion of religious tolerance, and this policy deeply resonated with Kashmir's existing mystical traditions. The valley had long been this vibrant center of Sufi thought, with prominent orders like the Kabruya, Naqshbandi, and the indigenous Rishi traditions flourishing there.
He tapped into that existing spirituality.
He did. He actively demonstrated his respect for these traditions. He famously endowed Sufi shrines like the Kanka-Umula in Srinagar, providing resources for their upkeep. He invited Sufi saints to his imperial court, fostering an environment of spiritual dialogue and exchange.
So respecting local traditions was key.
Very key. His broader policy of Sulikul, universal tolerance, found particularly fertile ground in Kashmir. The valley already had this deeply syncretic culture, a unique blending of different religious and philosophical traditions, where people borrowed and shared from each other rather than strictly separating.
Right, the melting pot idea again.
Yeah. This encouraged harmony between Kashmir's Muslim majority and its Hindu minority. He famously abolished the jizya tax, that poll tax on non-Muslims that had often been a source of resentment, and actively promoted interfaith dialogues, inviting scholars from Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, and other backgrounds to engage in intellectual exchanges at his court.
Really fostering understanding.
Exactly. This syncretic approach significantly strengthened Kashmir's unique cultural identity, known as Kashmiriya, which profoundly emphasized coexistence, mutual respect, and a shared spiritual heritage. And of course, it was Akbar who initiated the construction of those iconic Mughal gardens, drawing on the symmetrical Persian charbagh style.
The very first ones.
The very first Mughal ones in Kashmir, yes. These gardens were far more than just pretty spaces. They were tangible symbols of the Mughal ideal of paradise on earth, with their terraced layouts, intricate water channels, elegant pavilions. The foundations he laid, both administratively and culturally, would be magnificently expanded upon by his successors.
It sounds like Akbar really saw Kashmir as this living laboratory for his grand unifying vision, a place where his ideals could truly blossom.
I think that's a perfect way to describe it, a living laboratory.
And speaking of blossoming, his son Jahangir truly took that affection to heart. He is perhaps the Mughal emperor most intimately associated with the valley, famously quoting, "If there is a paradise on earth, it is this, it is this, it is this."
That famous quote, yeah, it really captures his feeling.
And that deep personal affection wasn't just, flowery language. He truly meant it. He visited Kashmir more than a dozen times during his reign, apparently, often accompanied by his brilliant and highly influential wife, Nur Jahan.
Her influence is absolutely crucial here, especially culturally.
Her influence on Mughal art and culture, especially in Kashmir, cannot be overstated.
Not at all. And Jahangir's most enduring contribution to Kashmir, without a doubt, was the creation and expansion of the iconic Mughal gardens. Shalimar Bagh, built around 1619, and Nishat Bagh are just masterpieces of landscape architecture.
They really are stunning, even today.
They are. Designed in that distinctive charbagh style, they blend perfect symmetry with these elaborate water features, cascading fountains, canals, and incredibly lush greenery. Shalimar Bagh served as a deeply personal retreat for Jahangir and Nur Jahan, a place of tranquility with its terraced lawns, pavilions, serene atmosphere, all set against that stunning backdrop of Dal Lake.
A private paradise.
Exactly. And Nishat Bagh, built slightly later, offered these panoramic views of the Zabarwan Mountains and became a true symbol of Mughal opulence and grandeur. But these gardens served multiple purposes.
Oh, more than just looking good.
Definitely. They weren't just static aesthetic creations. They were vibrant venues for imperial gatherings, for poetry recitals under the China trees, even for crucial diplomatic engagements where the sheer beauty of the surroundings could impress foreign dignitaries.
Using beauty as a tool of statecraft.
Precisely. And they showcased incredible Mughal engineering ingenuity, especially with those intricate water systems that drew directly from Kashmir's abundant springs and streams, demonstrating mastery over both nature and design. And it's really important to remember Nur Jahan's pivotal, hands-on role in their design. She infused them with this distinct and refined Persian aesthetic sensibility, contributing significantly to their unique beauty.
She was very involved.
Very involved. And beyond the gardens, Jahangir's reign saw a truly flourishing period of Persian culture in Kashmir. He was a dedicated patron of poetry, calligraphy, miniature painting. His court actively attracted talented artists and intellectuals from across the entire empire to the valley. It essentially established Kashmir as a kind of subsidiary cultural hub.
A northern court, almost.
In a sense, yes. Persian became the dominant language of administration and literature. You had celebrated poets like Talib Amuli and Ghani Kashmiri composing verses that lauded Kashmir's breathtaking beauty and its integration into the empire. The Mughal court also actively supported the translation of important Sanskrit texts like Kalhana's Rajatarangini into Persian.
Bridging cultures through translation.
Yes, a significant intellectual endeavor, fostering this fascinating dialogue between Indian and Persian literary traditions, making Kashmiri knowledge accessible to a wider imperial audience. The miniature paintings from Jahangir's era are particularly remarkable. They depict these vibrant scenes of Kashmiri landscapes, intimate courtly life, imperial hunts, masterfully blending Persian and Indian artistic styles.
Wow.
Calligraphy, too, reached new heights. Manuscripts adorned with intricate designs, delicate gold leaf, demonstrating the high value placed on artistic expression. This cultural output significantly elevated Kashmir's status as a central hub of Mughal art and literature.
It sounds like an incredibly vibrant time culturally.
It really was. And furthermore, Jahangir was an avid naturalist, almost a proto-botanist, you could say.
A naturalist, that's interesting.
Yeah, his deep fascination with Kashmir's unique ecology is vividly documented in his detailed memoirs, the Tizuki Jahangiri. His observations weren't superficial, they were meticulous, providing this invaluable record of the region's flora and fauna, from the famed saffron fields and majestic chinar trees to local wildlife like the Hangal, the Kashmiri stag.
He wrote about the animals and plants.
He did, in detail, documented everything with a keen eye, providing invaluable insights into the environmental history of Mughal Kashmir. He even introduced new plant species to the region, apparently bringing back specimens from his travels, further enhancing its biodiversity.
It's amazing.
His writings really underscore the emperor's profound personal connection with nature, and how this interest intertwined seamlessly with imperial ambition and the desire to understand and cultivate the empire's vast resources. What's truly fascinating here is how Jahangir's personal passion transformed Kashmir from merely a scenic conquest into this living embodiment of Mughal, artistic, cultural, and even scientific ideals. It shows how the personal interests of a ruler could have such broad, lasting impact.
That's such an insightful point about how personal passion could drive such significant imperial development.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what other subtle influences emperors had that we might not immediately recognize.
Absolutely. History isn't always just about grand strategy.
Following Jahangir, we have Shah Jahan, famously known as the builder of grandeur. Now, while his most famous creation, the Taj Mahal, isn't in Kashmir, his reign certainly continued the embellishment and integration of the valley.
Yes, the building continued, definitely.
It marked a period of remarkable administrative stability, significant urban development, and cultural continuity, it seems. Kashmir truly flourished as a provincial jewel of the empire under his watchful eye.
Shah Jahan certainly upheld that tradition of enhancing Kashmir's magnificent structures and infrastructure. He expanded the network of existing Mughal gardens, commissioning significant additions to both Shalimar and Nishat Bags, ensuring their continued splendor and utility.
Keeping up the imperial image.
Exactly. He also oversaw the construction and renovation of vital public buildings, including significant mosques and these crucial caravanserais, or sarars.
The rest stops for travelers.
Precisely. Crucial rest houses for travelers and merchants. For instance, the Jama Masjid in Srinagar, which was an older structure from the Sultanate period, underwent substantial renovation under Mughal patronage during his reign. It became an even more prominent center of religious and social life. Its wooden architecture, spacious courtyard, it perfectly reflected this blend of Kashmiri and Mughal styles, creating a unique aesthetic.
Integrating styles.
And the sarais along the Mughal road were particularly important. They facilitated trade and travel by providing secure shelter and amenities for merchants, pilgrims, officials, reinforcing Kashmir's critical role as a commercial and logistical hub connecting vast regions of the empire.
Making trade easier and safer.
Definitely. And Shah Jahan's reign in Kashmir was largely a period of relative stability, a time when the Mughal administrative system matured, became even more efficient and sophisticated. He appointed highly competent governors like Ali Mardan Khan, who were specifically tasked with maintaining strict law and order, improving trade infrastructure, and meticulously collecting revenue.
Keeping things running smoothly.
Right. The expanded Mughal road network connecting Kashmir to Lahore and Delhi undeniably boosted the region's economy and its overall connectivity within the wider empire. Goods and people could move with greater ease.
More integration.
His revenue policies, shaped by that Zaga system we talked about, were designed to balance the imperial demands for resources with the practical needs of the local populace. The saffron trade, in particular, was very carefully regulated.
How so?
Well, they wanted to maximize profits for the empire, naturally, but also simultaneously support the Kashmiri farmers who cultivated this precious commodity. So there was quality control, efficient taxation. While his emphasis on justice and efficiency generally earned him the loyalty of many Kashmiri elites, it's also important to acknowledge, as with any empire, that peasant communities occasionally faced periods of heavy taxation. That was a common tension point.
The burden often falls on the farmer.
Often, yes. Culturally, Shah Jahan continued the strong Mughal tradition of patronizing Sufism and promoting Persian culture, echoing the syncretic approach of Akbar and Jahangir. His court consistently supported a vibrant community of poets, historians, artists who continued to celebrate Kashmir's unique beauty and its deep integration into the Mughal Empire.
So the cultural vibrancy continued.
It did. And his personal love for luxury and refinement profoundly influenced Kashmiri craftsmanship, especially in textiles, and the highly coveted shawl-making industry. The pashmina shawl, famously made from the ultra-fine wool of Changthang goats, became this potent symbol of Mughal opulence, highly sought after by elites across the empire, further boosting Kashmir's economic prestige.
The Pashmina connection becomes really strong then.
Very strong. Which raises an important question, really. How much did these infrastructural investments by Shah Jahan solidify Kashmir's economic integration into the broader Mughal Empire? Did it make it not just a beautiful retreat for emperors, but a truly vital economic hub, deeply interconnected with the imperial system? Was this a calculated economic strategy, or maybe just a byproduct of imperial splendor?
That's a great point. It certainly seems like he cemented its place not just as a beautiful escape, but as an essential part of the empire's economic engine.
It seems that way.
But then we move to Aurangzeb, often considered the last of the great Mughal emperors, whose relationship with Kashmir was, well, frankly, far more complex and, at times, quite strained.
Yes, definite shift.
Unlike his predecessors, he seems less enamored with the valley's inherent beauty, didn't he? Much more focused on consolidating imperial control through a stricter religious orthodoxy and sheer military might. It marked a noticeable shift in imperial priorities.
Indeed, Aurangzeb's reign was characterized by this distinct shift toward Islamic orthodoxy, and this had a mixed and complex impact on Kashmir. While he did continue the patronage of some Sufi shrines, reflecting his personal piety, his broader policies often favored a more orthodox Sunni Islam over the region's deeply ingrained syncretic traditions.
Undermining the Kashmirite idea.
To some extent, yes. This led to certain policy changes, most notably the reimposition of the jizya tax on non-Muslims and the introduction of restrictions on certain Hindu practices. This move, reversing Akbar's inclusive policies, was certainly seen by many non-Muslims as discriminatory and a step back from the era of Sulikul.
Creating friction.
Definitely creating friction. However, it's also crucial to note that Aurangzeb's personal interactions with Kashmiri Sufis, particularly those of the influential Naqshbandi order, generally remained positive. It seems he respected certain spiritual lineages personally, even as his state policy shifted.
A complex picture.
Very. This increased orthodoxy, combined with existing economic pressures and at times heavy-handed local administration, certainly led to tensions with local communities, particularly in rural areas, where the impact of imperial policies was felt most directly. Nevertheless, Kashmir's robust Sufi traditions continued to thrive. They often acted as a vital bridge between the Mughal administration and the local populace, helping to mediate some of these tensions and preserve a degree of social cohesion.
So Sufism remained important.
It did. But administratively and economically, Kashmir did suffer during Aurangzeb's reign. His prolonged and incredibly resource-intensive military campaigns, particularly down south in the Deccan Plateau, diverted significant resources, manpower, and crucial imperial attention away from distant provinces like Kashmir.
Resources drained elsewhere.
Exactly. The province was often governed by a succession of Mughal officials, some of whom were unfortunately corrupt or ineffective, prioritizing their own gain over the welfare of the region. Heavy taxation and administrative neglect led to growing discontent among the Kashmiri peasantry, who faced increasing economic hardship and limited recourse.
Neglect from the center.
And the decline of the Mansabdari system, which had previously ensured accountability and loyalty, further weakened Mughal authority. Governors in distant provinces like Kashmir became increasingly autonomous, less accountable to the central power in Delhi.
Power shifting away from the emperor.
Right, and unlike his predecessors, Aurangzeb showed very little personal interest in the artistic and cultural embellishment of Kashmir. The vibrant construction of new gardens, public works, that hallmark of earlier reigns, it slowed considerably. The rich cultural exchanges gave way to a much more austere administrative focus.
Less focus on the jewel aspect.
Much less. Despite this clear shift in imperial attention and cultural patronage, Kashmir remained an important province. Its strategic location, that gateway to Central Asia, the vital frontier region, ensured continued Mughal attention, even if the focus was more on control and less on celebrating its beauty.
Still strategically vital.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Aurangzeb's reign really highlights a fundamental tension within any vast empire. That tension between imperial centralization and the diverse syncretic cultures within its borders. It shows how even subtle shifts in imperial policy, driven by the ruler's personal philosophy, could have profound and lasting local impacts, affecting not just governance, but social harmony too.
That's a powerful observation. It really shows how an emperor's personal philosophy and priorities could echo through an entire region, impacting everything from governance to social dynamics.
It's quite striking.
But despite that shift under Aurangzeb, Kashmir's Mughal period is still largely remembered as a golden age for Kashmiri culture, isn't it? So what does this all mean for Kashmir today? It truly acted as this crucible, this melting pot, where Persian, Central Asian, Indian traditions fused, leaving behind an incredibly rich and lasting legacy that continues to define the valley in profound ways.
Indeed, the cultural impact is perhaps the most visible and enduring legacy of Mughal rule. Those magnificent Mughal gardens of Kashmir's Shalimar Bagh, Nishat Bagh, and also Chashme-Shahi.
Chashme-Shahi, right.
Chashme-Shahi, for example, was built by Shah Jahan's governor Ali Mardan Khan back in 1632. It's renowned specifically for its natural spring and its serene beauty. These gardens, meticulously designed according to that Persian charbagh model, weren't just aesthetic marvels, they were conceptualized to reflect the Islamic concept of paradise on earth, a green, verdant oasis.
Paradise on earth, literally designed.
Exactly. They feature symmetrical layouts, intricate water channels, mesmerizing fountains, elegant pavilions, all set against the breathtaking backdrop of Kashmir's natural beauty, leveraging the valley's abundant water resources. They served multiple purposes: imperial retreats, venues for grand courtly gatherings, impressive showcases of Mughal engineering, particularly those sophisticated water systems. Water was central, symbolizing purity, abundance, life itself.
And they're still major attractions.
Huge attractions. Today, these magnificent gardens are recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites, attracting visitors from across the globe, testaments to a bygone era of imperial splendor.
Tangible legacy.
Very tangible. The modern period also saw this extraordinary flourishing of art and literature. Calligraphy, miniature painting, poetry reached new heights of sophistication, directly spurred by that imperial patronage we discussed.
Right, the emperor's funding the arts.
The consistent support of the Mughal court attracted a significant number of talented artists from Persia and Central Asia, who then collaborated closely with skilled local Kashmiri artisans. This cross-cultural exchange led to a unique artistic synthesis.
Blending again.
Exactly. Miniature paintings from this era depict vivid scenes of courtly life, the stunning natural landscapes of Kashmir, religious themes, all seamlessly blending Persian and Indian artistic styles. We have examples from artists like Mansour, a renowned painter in Jahangir's court, who created these incredibly detailed, vivid depictions of Kashmiri flora and fauna, truly showcasing the valley's rich biodiversity through art.
Using art to document nature.
In a way, yes. Persian literature also thrived under Mughal patronage. Numerous poets and historians chronicled the history and beauty of Kashmir, composing verses that are still studied today. And the translation of important Sanskrit texts like Kalhana's Rajatarnini into Persian was particularly significant. It facilitated the dissemination of Kashmiri knowledge to the wider Islamic world, fostering a broader intellectual dialogue.
Spreading knowledge.
The Mughal court also enthusiastically supported the production of exquisite illuminated manuscripts, many adorned with intricate calligraphy, delicate gold leaf. These manuscripts, now preserved in libraries worldwide, stand as powerful testaments to the immense cultural richness of Mughal Kashmir.
Beautiful objects carrying history.
Precisely. Furthermore, Kashmir's unique spiritual landscape was profoundly influenced, and indeed strengthened, by Mughal patronage of Sufism. The valley had long been this vibrant center of Sufi thought, with revered saints like Sheikh Nuruddin Nurani, known as Anand Rishi, who was equally revered by both Muslims and Hindus, embodying that shared spiritual heritage.
A figure respected by all.
Yes. The Mughals, particularly Akbar and Jahangir, significantly strengthened this tradition by endowing Sufi shrines and actively promoting the teachings of various Sufi orders, like the Naqshbandi, Qadiri, Surawardi. This encouragement of religious syncretism fostered a remarkable degree of harmony and coexistence between Kashmir's Muslim majority and its Hindu minority.
Back to Kashmir.
Exactly. It was common to see temples, mosques, Sufi shrines coexisting peacefully, often sharing devotees. Festivals like Shivratri and Eid were often celebrated with shared fervor across communities, demonstrating a deep cultural mingling. This deeply syncretic culture, Kashmiria, became a defining feature of the region's identity, emphasizing tolerance, mutual respect, a unique shared heritage transcending religious boundaries.
A powerful social force.
Absolutely. And finally, Mughal rule gave a massive, enduring boost to Kashmir's trade and economy by integrating it firmly into the empire's vast trade network. The valley became a crucial hub for producing highly prized goods, saffron, exquisite shawls, intricate carpets, all in high demand in Mughal markets across the subcontinent and even beyond.
Connecting Kashmir to huge markets.
The improved Mughal road system greatly facilitated trade with Central Asia, Persia, northern India, making trade routes more secure, more efficient, bringing considerable wealth and further cultural exchange to the region. Kashmiri artisans gained widespread renown for their exceptional craftsmanship, particularly in textiles and woodwork, their skills honed and celebrated by imperial demand.
Demand driving quality.
Yes. The pashmina shawl, woven from that ultra-fine wool, became a symbol of luxury, coveted by Mughal elites everywhere, driving a thriving industry. Saffron, the red gold of Kashmir, was a major source of imperial revenue, with Mughal officials meticulously overseeing its cultivation and export to maximize profits. Markets in cities like Srinagar bustled with activity, attracting merchants and traders from across Asia, making it a dynamic economic center. What's truly fascinating here is how the Mughals didn't just rule Kashmir, they shaped its very soul, creating a cultural tapestry that continues to define it, a legacy that outlived their political reign.
It's incredible to see how deeply ingrained that legacy is, truly a testament to the transformative power of this era. But as with all great empires, there eventually comes a period of decline.
Inevitably.
No empire lasts forever, and even a jewel in the crown, no matter how brilliant, can eventually lose its shine. So let's shift now to the intricate socio-political dynamics of Mughal rule in Kashmir, the internal challenges, and then, ultimately, its gradual, inevitable decline.
Right, the decline phase. The Mughal administrative system in Kashmir was, well, it was a fascinating blend of centralized control coming out of Delhi and pragmatic adaptation to local conditions.
Balancing act.
A constant balancing act. The province was governed by a subadar, the governor, reporting directly to the emperor, wielding considerable authority over civil, military, judicial matters. This subadar was supported by a complex network of officials. The revenue collectors, diwan, military commanders, judicial officers, quasi, all working to maintain imperial order and, crucially, extract resources.
The machinery of empire.
Exactly. The Mansabdari and Jagirdari systems were absolutely crucial here, ensuring governors and other high-ranking officials were accountable to the emperor, providing those land grants to incentivize loyalty and efficient governance. However, governing Kashmir presented unique challenges: its remote, mountainous location, its diverse populace.
Not an easy place to rule from afar.
Not at all. To manage this, the Mughals often wisely co-opted local elites, influential Kashmiri nobles, tribal leaders into the Mughal system. They'd grant them titles, positions, land grants, thereby securing their loyalty, integrating them into the imperial structure.
Bringing locals into the fold.
Right. Despite these efforts, tensions occasionally arose, primarily due to heavy taxation, which could be burdensome for the peasantry, and also the inherent cultural differences between Mughal officials, who often came from outside the valley, and the local Kashmiri population.
Friction points.
Always friction points. The Mughal relationship with local Kashmiri communities was complex, multifaceted, shaped by a mix of religious, cultural, economic factors. The Muslim majority generally welcomed Mughal rule, particularly benefiting from that imperial patronage of Sufism, which resonated deeply, and the new economic opportunities from the trade network.
Okay.
The Hindu minority, specifically the highly educated Kashmiri Pandits, played a very significant, influential role in administration and scholarship, often serving as crucial scribes, accountants, advisors within the Mughal bureaucracy due to their literacy and administrative skills.
Key administrative roles.
Very key. However, as we touched on earlier, Mughal policies, particularly under Aurangzeb, occasionally strain relations with non-Muslim communities. The reimposition of jizya, restrictions on Hindu practices like building new temples, did lead to discontent and resentment among subgroups.
Those later tensions.
Yes. But despite these challenges, that deeply ingrained concept of Kashmiriyat, the syncretic culture, actually helped maintain a remarkable degree of social harmony. Sufi saints often acted as key mediators between different communities, bridging divides through their inclusive teachings.
Kashmiriyat as a stabilizing force.
To some extent, yes. Now, militarily, Kashmir's strategic location necessitated a strong, consistent Mughal military presence, vital not just for protecting against external threats from the north and west, but also for suppressing potential internal rebellions and maintaining law and order.
Keeping the peace internally and externally.
Key forts, like the impressive Hari Parbat fort in Srinagar, were either constructed or significantly renovated and garrisoned to secure the valley's strategic points. The formidable Mughal army cavalry, infantry, artillery was strategically stationed at key locations throughout the province to maintain order, protect trade routes, ensure the flow of imperial revenue.
Projecting power.
And furthermore, Kashmir served as a significant base for Mughal military campaigns into Central Asia and along the northwestern frontier. This reinforced its critical geopolitical significance. It was a crucial military staging ground, not just a beautiful summer retreat.
A forward base.
Exactly. Now, the decline of Mughal rule in Kashmir, it was a gradual process, not a sudden collapse, driven by this complex combination of internal weaknesses within the empire and mounting external pressures. After Aurangzeb's death in 1707, the vast Mughal Empire entered this prolonged period of political instability.
The center couldn't hold.
Pretty much. Characterized by a rapid succession of weak emperors, intense factionalism, infighting among nobles at court, and a surge in regional rebellions across the empire. Internally, the later Mughal emperors, figures like Bahadur Shah, Jahangir Shah, Progrek, they simply struggled to maintain effective central control over distant provinces like Kashmir.
Control slipping away.
This weakened central authority led to a rise in corrupt governors who often prioritized their own enrichment over imperial stability. We see records of increased, often illegal, levies on the peasantry, leading to widespread local unrest, acute economic hardship.
Exploitation increases as control weakens.
A classic pattern. The decline of the Mansabdari system and the empire's severe financial troubles further weakened Mughal authority. The system designed for loyalty began to unravel. Mansabdars and provincial governors in distant areas like Kashmir became increasingly autonomous, less accountable to Delhi.
Setting themselves up.
They often stopped remitting full revenues to the imperial treasury, accumulated local power, even started raising their own local armies, directly contributing to the fracturing of the empire from within. Peasant rebellions, often fueled by economic hardship and administrative injustice, became more frequent in the early 18th century. The Mughal administration was increasingly unable to address these deep-seated grievances, eroding its legitimacy, paving the way for intense local power struggles.
A downward spiral.
Very much so. And as Mughal power waned at the center, regional power seized the opportunity. In Kashmir, local elites, tribal leaders exploited the empire's growing weaknesses to gain greater independence. The rising power of the Sikhs in Punjab, under leaders like Banda Bahadur, significantly disrupted Mughal authority in neighboring regions, posing a direct military threat to the northwest.
New threats emerging.
Simultaneously, the Afghans, led by the formidable Ahmad Shah Abdali, began to eye Kashmir as a strategic and lucrative prize, a rich territory ripe for the taking.
The final blow.
The final blow came in 1751. The Durrani Empire, under Ahmad Shah Abdali, launched a decisive invasion of the valley. The Mughals, by this point severely weakened by internal strife, unable to mount an effective defense, were swiftly and definitively ousted from Kashmir.
End of an era.
The Afghan conquest marked the formal end of Mughal rule in the region, ushering in a new era of Durrani dominance. This transition was marked by considerable violence and disruption as the Afghans imposed their own distinct administrative and cultural systems on the valley, replacing the centuries of Mughal influence. Which brings us back to that final question.
Right.
How does the administrative structure of a vast empire like the Mughals inherently contain the seeds of its own decline when central authority weakens, especially in distant, strategically vital provinces like Kashmir? Is it merely a question of strong versus weak rulers, or are there deeper systemic vulnerabilities in such expansive, decentralized systems?
That's a truly profound question, and it really puts the entire trajectory into perspective, doesn't it? It forces us to consider the long-term impact of governance structures beyond just the individuals in charge.
It does.
So we've journeyed from Kashmir's politically fragmented pre-Mughal state through its strategic annexation and full integration into the empire. We've seen the distinct transformative imprints left by those four great emperors, witnessed the profound cultural flourishing and synthesis that defined the era, and finally observed the gradual, yet inevitable decline of Mughal rule.
Quite a journey.
What remains undeniably clear, however, is the enduring legacy. Those breathtaking gardens that still stand, the exquisite art and literature that grace museums, the deep spiritual roots of Sufism that continue to thrive, the vibrant trade networks that shaped its economy, and perhaps most importantly, that enduring spirit of Kashmiriyat, a unique identity forged in coexistence and mutual respect. You've gained, I hope, a deep understanding of how this stunning valley became not just a territory to be governed, but a living testament to one of history's most magnificent and culturally rich empires.
And that legacy continues to shape the region even today, long after the political power of the Mughals receded. The Mughal rule in Kashmir, though ending politically back in 1751, offers us this powerful example of how culture and identity can be shaped, enriched, and resiliently endure even through centuries of political upheaval and imperial shifts.
Culture outlasting politics.
In many ways, yes. It's a compelling reminder that even when empires rise and fall, the deep cultural layers they lay down, the shared traditions they foster, the artistic expressions they inspire can persist and continue to define a place, transcending political boundaries and changes in governance. It prompts us to consider, what truly defines a place's identity? Is it primarily its natural beauty, the political rulers who govern it? Or is it those deep cultural layers laid down over time, woven into the very fabric of its people and traditions?
A truly thought-provoking question to leave you with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Mughal Kashmir. We hope you'll reflect on the incredible insights gained today and perhaps even explore this fascinating history further on your own, seeing how these layers of identity continue to play out in the world around us. Until next time, keep digging deeper.